Look closely at the basement door beneath this altar. It lacks an external handle, making it impossible to pull open from the sanctuary floor. Instead, the wood is secured by 6 heavy iron locks, all mounted on the outside. The church sits entirely isolated beyond the village limits, surrounded by nothing but rotting wooden crosses. When the sun sets, the building loses all electricity, leaving the stone interior in absolute darkness. Despite the absence of power or a bell ringer, the church bells toll exactly once every night at 9 p.m. No human hand touches the ropes. The mechanism triggers autonomously. The 6 external locks, the geographic isolation, and the automated triggers turn the church into a containment vessel. The entire building functions as a pressure seal for whatever is breathing beneath the floorboards. Local records mention Father Gabriel, a priest who vanished for 3 days. When the villagers finally found him, he was sitting motionless in the sanctuary, staring at the basement door in a state of total catatonia. Gabriel refused to eat or sleep, only breaking his silence to whisper one phrase: "It knows my name now." The entity below had bypassed the iron locks by successfully infecting the priest's mind. Years later, the narrator enters the abandoned sanctuary. The air smells of wet stone and a deep underlying rot. Under the altar carpet, the door remains exactly as the stories described, though one of the 6 rusted locks has been recently replaced. Iron and stone can hold a physical threat indefinitely, but they cannot stop the pull of local legend. The church's containment relies on a lack of interference, a failsafe that inevitably breaks when human curiosity leads someone back to the altar. Physical contact completes the circuit. As the narrator presses a hand against the scarred wood of the basement hatch, the trap activates. The sanctuary's spatial logic fractures. The church bells begin to ring with a deafening violence, but the sound waves aren't coming from the belfry outside. They are vibrating from directly above the narrator's head. A soft voice drifts up through the floorboards, whispering, "Finally." The tone is perfectly calm, and it possesses the exact pitch and inflection of the narrator's own voice. The floor begins to vibrate under a heavy, rhythmic exhale. This breathing carries enough physical force to shake the stone altar, suggesting something of massive scale is moving just inches beneath the wood. Touching the door acted as a trigger mechanism. By making physical contact, the narrator has connected their own identity to the consciousness waiting in the dark. The lowest lock suddenly snaps open without a key. Through the narrow gap in the wood, a warm, smooth human hand presses against the underside of the door, testing the remaining locks. Then comes the sound of a gathering. Row by row, the empty wooden pews begin to creak, as if under the weight of a massive, invisible crowd sitting down for a service. The scent of rot is suddenly overtaken by the thick, suffocating smell of wet earth and hundreds of freshly lit candles saturating the sanctuary. The whispers beneath the floorboards change. The voices are no longer desperate to escape. They are a collective, rhythmic prayer, begging for the door to be opened so they can enter. This entity is conducting a ritual. By mimicking the structure of a mass, it is calling its invisible congregation into the dark, transforming the basement into the center of a twisted worship. And now the architecture itself begins to warp. The stone statues along the walls slowly turn their heads toward the altar, while a thick, black fluid leaks from their carved eyes. The sound of the bells migrates. The acoustic waves die out in the air and begin ringing inside the narrator's skull, with every toll physically bending the stone walls of the church. Every light fixture in the building explodes at once, raining shards of glass onto the floor and plunging the sanctuary into a total, heavy darkness. In that darkness, the pews are no longer empty. Dozens of people sit motionless in prayer, their eyes entirely black and their gazes fixed on the narrator. The presence of the entity has completely overwritten the physical laws of the church. The space has been repurposed into a reflection of the darkness below. Suddenly, the final 3 locks burst open. As the door creaks inward, a gravity-defying darkness spills upward, crawling across the floor like a physical liquid. The freezing dark reaches the narrator's feet. It feels like thousands of tiny, individual hands brushing against the skin, pulling at the edges of their shadow. Father Gabriel's warning reaches its conclusion. From the pitch-black opening, the entity speaks the narrator's true name, finalizing the psychological link. The locks held the entity in an incubation chamber, preserving it until a human replacement arrived. Now, as the silhouette rises from the hatch, it possesses the narrator's face, ready to walk out of the church while the original stays behind to take its shape in the